star that represents the source of life, the Sun. Planets revolving around stars. Meteors hurtling through the giant clouds of and galaxies home to billions of stars. Space, the boundless void that has fascinated man since the most ancient times. The universe we live in is still full of unsolved secrets. One of the heavenly bodies with great secrets is the Sun, the source of life on Earth. In this film, we shall be witnessing examples of Almighty Allah's glorious creation in the Sun. Advances in technology are revealing unknown aspects of the universe one by one. The more than 100 billion galaxies contain more stars than there are grains of salt on Earth. Just like planets, galaxies follow their own orbits. For example, one full cycle of the Milky Way, which includes our own Earth, takes 215 million years to complete. Our galaxy travels through the universe at the extraordinary speed of 25 million kilometers per second. Like the Milky Way, other galaxies are also in constant motion. Galaxies sometimes approach one another and even collide with one another during the course of these movements. Collisions. If two giant systems with their own separate orders collide, the systems gradually unite with one another. The result is a new galaxy with a whole new order of its own. The reason for this is that the distance between the celestial bodies and the galaxy is exceptionally finely adjusted. The distribution of all the heavenly bodies in the universe is exactly right for human life. For example, there are vast voids in space. In his book, The Symbiotic Universe, the American astronomer George Greenstein describes the importance of heavenly bodies being at specific distances from one another.
Had the stars been somewhat closer, astrophysics would not have been so very different. Fundamental physical processes occurring within the stars, nebulas and the like would have proceeded unchanged. The appearance of our galaxy, as seen from some far distant vantage point, would have been the same. About the only difference would have been the view of the nighttime sky from the grass on which I lie, which would have been yet richer with stars. And oh, yes, one more small change. There would have been no me to do the viewing. All that wastes space. On the other hand, in this very waste lies our safety.
Carrying out more detailed examinations have determined other examples of delicate balances in addition to the distances between heaven. scientific circles have begun to think that the universe has an anthropic purpose. According to this, the universe did not come into for no reason. It has a purpose. All the physical balances in the universe have been arranged in a sensitive manner, just right for human life. Now we will have a close look at one heavenly body created with a sensitive balance just right for human life: the Sun. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. Allah is He who raised up the heavens without any support, you can see that, and then established Himself firmly on the throne. He made the sun and moon subservient, each running for a specified term. He directs the whole affair. He makes the signs clear, so that hopefully you will be certain about the meeting. The delicate measure in the sun. Warning: none of the figures cited in this film have come together by chance. Every number has a crucial significance for everything living on the earth. One of the two. This star is around 4.5 billion years old. Yet its story goes much further back than that, to around 14 billion years ago. Even before that great explosion took place, the destiny of this and all other stars, which atoms they would use as resources, and how they would consume energy, the stages they would go through, and the fact that they would truly die, all already ordained. The destiny of the sun was distinguished from that of others in this way. It was created as a source of life for a blue planet close to it. Allah created the destiny of the universe before any of these things had ever happened. The sun is 6,000 light-years from the center of the Milky Way and travels at 792,000 kilometers per hour. It completes one revolution around the center of the in approximately 225 to 250 million years. This star, which constantly emits light and heat, is 109 times larger than the Earth in diameter, 1.3 million times in volume, and 333,000 times greater in weight. The density of the Sun, a giant next to our own planet, is only ever. Large explosions take place in the Sun, which consists of very hot gases. They give off flames that are 40 to 50 times the size of the Earth. huge fireball, is 6,000 degrees centigrade and 12,000 degrees at the core. So much equivalent to all timber, natural gas, etc. energy on Earth. However, only 1 part in 2 million So why does this level is just one of the special measurements created in order to sustain life on Earth. Level of energy Sun, our days are illuminated, the surface of the planet is warmed, and living things are able to find food. Craft. From the Sun reach us across 8.5 The distance of the Sun from the Earth, the size of the Sun, and the scale of the reactions taking place inside the Sun are all based on very fine calculations. Our life is also determined on the basis of these very fine calculations. Even the slightest change in any of these values would spell the end of life on Earth. There are various movements taking place, such as the movement of the Sun around its own axis and in a specific direction, the movement of the Earth around its own axis, movements dependent on the Sun and also influenced by the Moon. With all these very fast movements, our Earth assumes a different place in the solar system and the galaxy to where it was a moment before. There is a very important point here. During this movement, the relative positions of the Earth and Sun remain unaltered, and life on Earth is therefore not exposed to any danger. As we have seen, the characteristics of the Sun are not haphazard and aimless. On the contrary, Allah says in the Quran in the words, Allah has deliberately created this star in order to sustain human life. The values we have been discussing so far have been created with very sensitive balances in such a way as to affect not just but the entire universe. The speed of the light emitted by the Sun is just one such example. Light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second. This is shown in the letter C in Einstein's famous formula E equals mc squared. The E in the formula stands for the energy when matter is converted into energy in thermonuclear reactions in the star. If light traveled just slightly faster than it does, then tens of thousands of times more energy would be produced than is manufactured now. That would mean the energy in the core of stars being consumed, and our universe would millions of years ago have been plunged into darkness. But what if light traveled just a little bit slower? In that case, the initial expansion of the universe would have been much slower, and the universe would have been unable to escape its own gravitational force. In life in the universe would have been impossible. This immaculate equilibrium proves that the universe did not by chance, was arranged for a particular purpose. As the astrophysicist William Press wrote in an article in Nature magazine, there is a grand design in the universe that favors the development of intelligence. The location of the Sun in the galaxy. Stars and heavenly bodies in spiral galaxies are set out in such a way as to form a round center at the same angle. Some stellar the voids between the atoms emerging from the center, but so few negligible. Our own solar system is one of those rare stellar systems between these spiral arms. Why is the fact that the solar system lies between spiral arms significant? From where we are, we enjoy a very clear view of space uncluttered by the gases and wastes in the spiral arms. If we were inside one of the spiral arms, impaired. In his book Nature's Destiny, Professor Michael Denton says this on the subject.
What is so striking, the cosmos appears to be not just supremely fit for our own being and for our biological adaptations, but also for our understanding. Because of the position of our solar system on the edge of the galactic rim, we can gaze farther into the night galaxies and gain knowledge of the overall structure of the cosmos. Were we positioned in the center of a galaxy, the beauty of a spiral galaxy, the idea of the structure of our universe.
As Michael Denton says, the universe is Another point requiring consideration is that our solar system is a arm at the edge of the Milky Way, rather than in the middle, in other words. As Michael Denton also says, more importantly, to obtain information about the universe. our Lord has specially appointed the position in the Milky Way of the Sun and the planets around it. This position is instrumental in our to know the universe, reflecting and appreciating the infinite might of Allah. Allah issues the following verse of the Quran. Have known the first formation. The force that holds the planets together. Another example of the delicate balances in the Sun concerns the force of gravity. The force of gravity is greater than that of the Earth. The effect that prevents the planets flying off into space is the equilibrium between the gravitational attraction and centrifugal force. Because of its powerful gravitational force, the Sun attracts all the planets, but they escape that pull thanks to But if these planets' orbits were slightly slower, then these planets would quickly be pulled into the Sun and be swallowed up in a gigantic explosion. The exact opposite state of affairs might also happen. If the planets orbited slightly faster, then the power of the Sun would be insufficient to hold on to them, and they would fly off into. But none of these things actually happen, and all the planets continue in their own courses. Because, as each one is swimming in a sphere. We need to note this fact here. The distance of our Earth from the Sun, an energy source with an enormous mass, is exactly that which is required. In this way, it is protected against its burning and destructive effects, but also able to make the right use of its beneficial energy. Astronomers such as Kepler, who discovered this delicate equilibrium established thanks to the Sun, and also Galileo, this system manifested a clear design and proved Allah's dominion over all the universe. Isaac Newton, widely regarded as the greatest scientist who ever lived, and who made major discoveries about the Sun, wrote,
"This most elegant system of suns, planets and comets could arise from the purpose and sovereignty of Almighty Being. He rules them all, not as a soul, but as a sovereign Lord of all things, and because of his sovereignty, he is commonly called Lord God Almighty."
In the Sun. As we work, sit, every one of the systems that Allah has created in the universe functions in an immaculate manner without our even thinking about them. The processes that emerges for our survival is under the control of Allah. The Sun 60 million tons into the 560 million tons of helium in the time it takes you to open and close your eyes. The remaining 4 million tons of hydrogen is also converted into energy. This energy manufactured by the Sun in 1 second is far greater than that used by mankind since the dawn of civilization. At this point, we encounter the infinite might of Allah and His sovereignty over every atom in the universe and every particle inside every atom, such as protons and neutrons. All light and dominion of creation as follows. You do not engage in any manner or recite any of the Quran, or do any action without our witnessing you while you are occupied with it. Not even the smallest speck eludes your Lord, either on there anything or larger, which is not in a clear book. Billion times given a bomb dropped on Nagasaki in World War II. The most famous scientists of that time made enormous efforts to build this bomb incomparable compared to the sun. The result was a weapon used to eliminate mankind. Our Lord creates a giant source of energy for us, so to continually benefit from it without harming us. The reaction in the sun may be summarized as 4 hydrogen atoms coming together and turning into one helium. Force the atomic nuclear reaction together. It is a force known as force. Research has shown that strong nuclear force is at just the right level to perform this task. If strong nuclear flight it is, 2 hydrogen nuclei could together. 2 approaching protons would immediately repel in the reaction of the sun before it even began. Well-known scientist George Greenstein expresses this fact in the words, "If strong nuclear force, then the light of the earth would never shine." What would happen if strong nuclear instead of a consisting of a proton and a neutron, a diproton with 2 protons would form. In that event, the sun's fuel would suddenly become an explosive one that would affect the sun and all stars like it in a matter of seconds. And the obliteration of the sun would turn things into ashes in just a few seconds. But thanks to Allah, our Creator, nuclear force is at just the right level and performs a balanced reaction inside the sun so that it burns gradually. These things all go to show that the strength of strong nuclear force has been arranged just so as to support human life. Any deviation in that arrangement would mean stars like the sun would not come into being or would otherwise be annihilated in a huge conflagration shortly after doing so. Allah created the sun specifically so as to support human life, as He reveals in the verse from the Quran, "The sun and moon both run with precision." protective features in the Sun and Earth. Allah created the Earth in such a way that it would be protected against the destructive effects of such a giant sun. Research in recent years has revealed that the Sun beats like a heart. Scientists have detected millions of different sounds emitted from the Sun during these beats. Imagine that, like the Sun, the other 200 billion stars in the Milky Way also emit similar sounds, and what would become of us when we heard them? Yet, our ears hear not a single note emitted by this giant sound source. This is because at 1 MHz, the vibration frequencies of the sounds emitted are far below the lower limit of our hearing, which is 20 Hz. It is impossible for us to hear them. Even if there is no air or gas layer in the voids of space, those sounds could not reach our Earth. If we were to multiply a sound leaving the Sun by 20,000 or 40,000 times, the resulting sound would still be less than a whisper. There is a concert being played out for us in a gigantic arena many times larger than our Earth, and with giant loudspeakers, but thanks to Allah's sublime creation, we are totally unaware of it. The Earth is constantly being exposed to a bombardment of high-energy particles from the Sun. But our Earth has two protective features against this. Were it not for these protective features, the high-energy particles and radiation reaching it from the Sun would represent a deadly threat to life. The first protective feature on Earth is the atmosphere that prevents X and ultraviolet radiation descending as far as sea level. The high-energy particles arriving from the Sun cool down as they collide with molecules in the atmosphere. When these potentially deadly particles reach the lower levels of the atmosphere, they are emitted at long wavelengths that are not dangerous to living things. The field surrounding the Earth. Due to its magnetic field, the Earth protects living things from highly charged particles arriving from the Sun in the form of a wind. This magnetic field continues against the major explosions on the Sun's surface. When changes take place in the Earth's magnetic shield, a greenish light in the sky can be seen in the atmosphere at night, especially in polar regions. This dance-like motion is the result of fast-moving electrons from space colliding with molecules in the atmosphere. These lights are known as the aurora borealis at the North Pole and the aurora australis at the Pole. With this impressive display of light, Allah is showing us how He neutralizes potentially harmful rays. Tell us. sun's position, heating of the earth, that these rays are of all show that the universe was created to scientific survey that the universe anthropos this theory the universe being for no as a purpose in the universe the sun have been arranged in a delicate way such as to support human life. Every detail the Lord of all things. The keys of the no one knows them but him. He land and sea falls without him. There is no seed in the darkness of the earth, and moist or which is whichever of the structures and systems that surround us that we look greatest to the smallest, we will find ourselves looking at a great miracle. The important thing is to recognize these miracles, because no matter how obvious and great a miracle may be, the ability to deduce the existence and infinite might of Allah is a property unique to believers alone. As for deniers, even if they encounter a manifest miracle, they will still deny it because of their pride and earthly desires. They generally play down these miracles with irrational explanations and statements. Yet just what we have seen in this film about the sun is enough to cause a person of good conscience to believe.